Hello, I do hope you and your families are all well. As we approach the end of our first half term back at St Peter's, I wanted to give you a brief update to let you know how things have gone over the past few weeks, and also to give you an idea of some of the measures we're looking to put in place when we get back after half term in order to keep your children even safer during their time with us in the school day. Before we do that, however, I thought it might be worth us looking at the local situation. The graph at the bottom shows the cases have been rising across the Bournemouth, Christchurch and Poole area. They have levelled off over the past few days, but with cases in our local area still higher than the national average, I do not think now is the time for us to be relaxing what we do. We need to do everything we can to keep your children safe. There are currently 122 cases per 100,000 people across our area in any given week. To put that in context, that means roughly one person in every 800 is currently testing positive every week across the Bournemouth, Christchurch and Poole area. Given the size of our school, and we are 2,250 staff and students altogether, we would possibly expect to see up to 3 positive cases per week. However, thankfully, our numbers are much lower than that, but we have had cases, so it is important we do everything we can to keep your children safe. And key to that is us following the government guidance, which is the system of controls they've given us in schools to help keep everybody safe and well. We can really split these into different sections. Number 2 to number 7 are all about what we can do in school and what your children can do in school to help keep them safe. And this is about using face coverings if we feel that's appropriate, which we currently do in the secondary phase when children are moving around the school site, to clean hands more thoroughly than usual, to make sure we've got enhanced cleaning in place, and many other things as well. You do have a part to play here as well as parents in ensuring your children have their face coverings and ensuring they understand exactly what it is we expect of them in school. But generally speaking, we're the ones who look after this during the school day with the assistance of your children. When we do get cases in school, we respond very quickly by engaging with the NHS Test and Trace and manage any confirmed cases alongside the risk assessment and the guidance given us by Public Health England. And we've done that every single time we've had a case in school. But I really wanted to focus on the first point here, which is actually the most important point, which is minimising contacts with individuals who are unwell by ensuring those who have coronavirus symptoms or someone in the household does do not attend school. And we absolutely have to get this right every time. I think as parents and carers, we have a moral obligation and responsibility to make sure we follow this to the letter. So in case anybody is unclear about this, the guidance is as follows. If anybody in the household develops symptoms of COVID-19, and that is a new continuous cough, a high temperature, a loss of or change in the normal sense of taste and smell, they need to self-isolate for 10 days and arrange to have a test. If the test is negative, they no longer need to self-isolate. If it's positive, they must complete the 10-day isolation period. The rest of the household need to stay at home for 14 days, and they need to stay at 14 days whilst we're waiting for that test result, and also if the test result is positive, that continues. The rest of the household can only go back to their normal daily lives if the test is negative. So the moment somebody tests or someone develops symptoms of coronavirus in your household, the whole household needs to isolate, we need to get a test ordered, we need to get that taken care of straight away. The only people who need to order a test are those who develop symptoms. And there's a very straightforward reason for this. And that is that even if you test negative and someone in your household has already tested positive, all that negative test means for you is that you don't have symptoms at that time. You could go on to develop symptoms later. So please, all of us need to follow the guidance correctly. Only those who need a test should order a test, and that way all those people who need tests will be able to get access to them quickly. That's absolutely crucial we follow this. There are fines starting at £1,000 for those who do not follow some of the guidance above, but please make sure we do all follow the guidance all the time. So just to be absolutely clear about this, only people with symptoms should order a test, and once a test is ordered, households must not wait for the results before self-isolating and informing the school. The moment you have concerns someone in your household may have coronavirus and you've ordered a test, everybody needs to stay at home until the result of that test comes through, and then you make the decision from there in line with the government guidance. And I think on this note, it's also worth pointing out that if anybody is thinking of going away over half term to another country, there may well be travel restrictions in place. Please make sure you are fully aware of those when you return to England if you are going away. So again, we make sure we follow that guidance absolutely to the letter. I want to explain why it is so important that we do follow the guidance to the letter, because it may not seem like much just to send your child in if they've got some symptoms. So if I can just demonstrate now, the picture in front of you on your screen is of a class of 30 children. So let's imagine this young lady here is sent into school by her parents because they're waiting for the result of the test and they don't think she actually has it, but they just did it to be on the safe side. If that child is in school and they do have symptoms and they do test positive, that creates a real issue for us as a school community, because the person next to her needs to self-isolate for 2 weeks. The people either side, so that's another 4 there, need to self-isolate, and also the 2 in front and the 2 behind as well. So straight away from this one class, a large number of children need to start self-isolating. But we then need to multiply that up. Imagine this is a year 11 class where students may well be in different classes for RE, English, math, science, and all of their option subjects. We could then end up isolating over 63 students from their classes alone. Also, possibly their teachers may need to self-isolate, and other contacts, perhaps people they've sat next to on the bus, people they sat next to in the canteen, and go and so on and so forth. So it's a very time-consuming process for us to trace all of these children. We want children to be in school, and the way we can keep children in school is if we all follow the guidance exactly. So the moment you order a test for someone in your household, or the moment someone develops symptoms in your household, stay at home. Do not come in until such time as that test result comes back negative, or you've completed that isolation period at home. It's so important we do this because we want children in school. On this note as well, when we're talking about the people who may need to isolate, when it comes to the buses, this can again cause a bit of an issue for us because we, as a school, are not responsible for the school buses. We've told children where they need to sit on the bus, and the reason for that is very straightforward. We keep the children in their bubbles. If they stay in their bubbles, then we can quite easily identify who it is who needs to self-isolate if there's a case in school of someone who's come on the bus. So please reinforce your children where they need to sit on the bus so they get that right every single time. So hopefully that's made it fairly straightforward at how serious it can be if you send a child in who has symptoms, or if you're waiting for the test, or someone in your household, or even for your child themselves. So please, let's get this right every single time. We're looking to make some changes at lunchtime after half term. Currently, at the moment, we have a split lunch break. So we have year 7, 8 and 9 have their lunch first, year 10, 11, 12, 13 have their lunch after that. However, this is going to be problematic after half term because the probability of wet lunch increases. So we've got poor weather coming in quite often at this time of year. And that's a real issue where we need children to gather indoors and outdoors. Now, under normal circumstances, we'd have large numbers of students gathering in indoor spaces, such as the B block hall and other areas around the school. Now, obviously, that doesn't sit well with the government guidelines. So the safest place for students to be is to go back to their tutor rooms at at lunchtime, if the weather is poor. That's why we're having to go back to one lunch, but we're very blessed at St. Peter's in that we have a very large field. We have lots of grounds, lots of space where we can keep kids separately quite happily. So on the picture there you've got on your screen on the top right, you should be able to see we've got an area for year 11 to have their food, an area for year 11 who maybe want to kick a football around. Likewise, that's mirrored the other half of the field for the year 9s. The sixth form have still got use of the lower fields. And then the year 8 and year 10 have an area for games on the Muga. And they've also got a grass and tarmac area just off the Muga as well, which can be used after half term. So we've got plenty of space. We can keep children separate very easily. And year 7 still have their playground on the yard. So as I said, the current system of staggered lunches makes this very difficult to manage. So what we're going to do is go to one lunch after half term. We're still going to have staggered access to the dining room. So we'll do this on a week by week basis. So 1 week, year 7, 8, 9 will go to lunch first. They'll be able to get through the canteen to get their food as they need. And then towards the second half of the lunch break, the rest of the school will then have access to the dining room. That will flip on a week by week basis. So we don't have the same children getting into the dining room first every single week. It's very straightforward for us to manage. And actually the students have been brilliant at lining up and we've been able to get through the canteen very quickly. So we see we can get the whole school through, over the course of one lunchtime. Break time, we will still keep staggered. That's working really well for us at break time. So what we have is half the school have their tutor time, half the school have break time, and then it flips after that. That works really well. We're not making any changes there. We're only doing the change to lunch because of the wet weather, because of the inclement weather we could have after half term. We need to make sure that when that weather does come, that children can go to their tutor bases. They've got a safe place to go when they're not in large crowded spaces. So please help us with this by ensuring your children have got a good coat as well, because we will keep children outside wherever possible. They need to really dress for the weather. So please let's make sure we get that correct. This also, the other advantage of this is it makes it easier for teachers to run any catch-up or drop-in sessions at lunchtime, especially for some of our exam groups. We make sure we get that right. So all of this will help us. We can still keep the children safe. And in many ways, it will actually make the children even safer because when there is a wet lunch, they'll have a safe place to go with the rest of their tutor group. The other change we're looking at is PE kit after half term. So at the moment, students can come into school on the day they've got games in their PE kit and wear it for the whole day. Now, again, this can be problematic after half term as the probability of cold and wet weather increases. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove the possibility of students having to wear wet kit around school after their PE lessons. So you can imagine that a student has games, lesson 1 and 2, they're outside, the heavens open, they get absolutely soaking wet. It's cold, they're wet, they have to stay like that for the entire day. So what that means is we need to start using the changing rooms again, but not in the way we used to use them previously. We're currently looking at the easiest and the safest way to do that. We're possibly going to use a combination of the sports hall for the boys to get changed and the changing rooms for the girls to get changed, so we can keep everybody socially distanced. The changing rooms will need to be fogged after each use. So we've got many of the devices you've seen there on the right-hand side of your screen where we can clean the changing rooms very, very quickly in a matter of minutes. We then leave it 10 minutes and it'll be totally safe to use for the next group. Everything will be clean and sanitized. So we're going to start doing this after half term. Students who've got PE lesson 1 and 2, though, may still arrive in their PE kit and they can go straight to their games lesson. They'll need to change afterwards, of course. And students with PE lessons 5 and 6 may go home in their PE kit if they so wish. So it's really straightforward. We can do this. We're still reducing the use of changing rooms as to where we would have been this time last year. And certainly things will be safe and we'll have fewer numbers in the changing rooms as well. So after half term, students will be coming in their PE kits only if they've got PE lesson 1 and 2, and they can go home in their PE kits only if they've got PE lesson 5 and lesson 6. The PE department will be writing to you all later on this week to let you know exactly what kit will be required and how that's all going to work. But we've got a good plan to make that all safe and sound for your children. So students must be in their full uniform at all other times. So we need to make sure we've got all of that right. And that's from the school uniform, the clothes, also in terms of jewellery, in terms of makeup. We need to make sure we're getting this all absolutely right. We've had half a term, I think, in many ways of settling back into school. Moving forward, we need to make sure we're getting this right every single time. The final thing I really wanted to say was just thank you to you all for sending your children back to us at St. Peter's. We've been delighted to have them back. It's been wonderful to have everybody back at school. I'm really interested to know some views from yourselves on how this has gone from your point of view. So there is a very brief online survey just to fill out and we'll be able to go forward from there. Apart from that, thank you all very much. I hope you all have a wonderful half term and look forward to seeing you in November.